I spent the last 20 years working with some of the biggest corporations in the world to help them find their future. You know, the sort of things, how can we stay relevant in the future? What's our next big bet? What's the future going to be like? And I really learned a painful lesson from doing that, a really painful lesson, which is most of the time, big organizations get really bad ideas when they think about the future. And I also found a pattern to why it is that most of us get the future wrong and get bad ideas about the future. And there's a certain pattern to that, which is the philosophy behind it, and philosophy in the terms of how we think. Because we have all been trained in school to think in a specific way, with a specific philosophy, which is the philosophy that ideas and thinking comes from our head, inside our head, our brains. We're totally focused on that. Today, I'm going to talk about why that is really a bad way to get ideas. Does anyone here like cooking? Can I see your hands? Right. Do you like shopping for food? Do you like eating? Do you like interesting recipes? Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about the future of the kitchen. And let's start with the biggest food company in the world, who just came out with a so-called future scenario of how we are going to cook in the future. And it looks like this. So here you see an image of the future. This is supposedly 15 years from now, 2030. And you see a woman and a man and a sort of machine that sort of 3D prints meat. And she has red wine. This idea is, I think, a very futuristic idea, of course. But is it also true? And is there any kind of meaning to it? And if you go on Google, you should do that, and Google kitchen of the future, you find the very same sort of ideas that this company had. This is one of them, 3D printing food. The other one was having drones delivering pizzas to your home. A third one would be having automated cooking. So you just say, I would like a tiramisu, and they'll make a tiramisu. Having robots cook for you. All those sorts of things. Having, shopping on big touch screens, all those sorts of things. And if you Google this, it kind of looks like this. These are images of prototypes of how we think about the kitchen of the future. Now, I want to go back to my first idea. When we think about the future, what's the philosophy behind it? How do we think? And just yourself, look at these images and think about this. What is the meaning of these ideas? Not what is the technology, but what's the meaning of these ideas? What's the human meaning of these ideas? And when I look at these ideas, 3D printing food, drone-delivered pizzas, robots that cook for you, they all are about one idea, one meaning, which is humans don't like to cook. That's the idea. It's slavery, and technology, 3D printing meat, for example, can free us from the slavery and the burden of cooking. How true do you think this idea is? Well, if you ask an anthropologist who really knows about human behavior and the history of human civilization, they would say, apart from sex, cooking and preparing and eating food is the most important thing of being a human being. It's what makes us human. And you can go back into archaeology and say, what happens if we take away hunting, gathering, and cooking? Well, then we're just animals. Then we're not humans anymore. So from an anthropological point of view, this idea is a really bad idea because you're taking away the essential ingredients to what it means to be human, which is we like to cook. Is there any evidence behind this kind of idea? So let's talk about magazines for a moment. The magazine business is not going so well. They're not selling us so many magazines, except in one category. What is that category? Yeah, food magazines. TV programs. You can't swing a cat these days without hitting a TV program that's about, cooking cakes or cooking something else, right? What's the most Instagrammed item on the internet? Okay. So there is no evidence behind this idea. There is no evidence, right? So why is it that the biggest food company in the world, when they have ideas about the future, have ideas that are really bad, does not have any human meaning, and has no evidence to it? Isn't it strange, really? And there's a reason why, which is the philosophy, how they think, which is they think, and we think often, that when we think about the future, these ideas should come from our brain, the ideas we have. And inside our brain are hidden assumptions and beliefs and values that blind our ability to be curious. I'll give you an example. The same phenomena can look very different. If you're an economist, everything is about price and markets, and everything will look like price and markets. If you're a lawyer, everything is about justice. If you are a feminist, everything is about social pressure. And it can be the same phenomena you're looking at, but you have very different ideas. And that will guide your thinking, and it will copy your thinking into the future. The scary thing is that most of us, we think we are free thinkers. We think we have our original thoughts. But then why is it? Then we look at, when we talk about the future or even watch the patterns in TED Talks, it's the same damn ideas again and again and again. Right now, it is the sharing economy, 3D printing, co-creation, the Internet of Things. And they're not bad ideas. They're just not original ideas. These ideas, they come into our head and they create a kind of copy machine that then copies these ideas into our meaning. And when we then express something about the future, it's really just copies of somebody else's idea. And that's not good if you're a good corporation, but it's not good either if you want to solve the climate crisis. Because we need original, curious thinking. And where should that come from? Well, I would argue it shouldn't come inside your head. It should come from the world beyond the head, the real world. So let's imagine we want to design a new hospital, and this hospital should be made purely for children. All right? And I want to introduce you to Mia. Here's Mia, and she is 4 years old. Mia has a brain damage. She has been operated 11 times. I met Mia because I was part of a large anthropological study of our hospital. That means going in and trying to figure out how do kids experience a hospital. So actually going down here and say, what's the hospital like? And when you do that, you get pictures of this. This is sent by her mom on a phone to me. And her mom writes, you can see she's in a ballerina dress and has bows up here and so on. And she writes, here is the princess of the hospital on the way to her operation. And what is it she said? What's the meaning behind this idea? Like the kitchens I talked about. The meaning behind this idea is when you're a child, you do not stop being a child just because you're ill. You do not stop being a child just because you go to a hospital. And what is a child? How do children make sense of the world? Well, play is the way children make sense of the world. And this picture is showing us that. She's telling us something very important about the future of hospitals, which is, what if we designed a hospital that was made for children, that was playful, not only in a playground over there, but was completely integrated in everything. Have any of you read Homer, the Odyssey, or heard about it? He warned us about this 2018, 800 years ago. There's a story about Odysseus, who is on a big journey. And they come to an island, and there are these sirens, which are kind of these bird-like, really beautiful women. And they sing to you, just like we just heard a song. And you kind of go, oh, I want to go there, right? And there's also a little bit of an erotic sensation to it, I think. And then what the sailors do is they jump aboard and then swim to the island just to discover that these sirens are vampires. And then they eat you. And what Odysseus does is that he asks his men to bind him to the mast and put wax in his ears so he does not listen to the sirens, enable for him to sail past them. Now, the ideas inside your head, particularly the popular trends that you hear all the time, those are the sirens of today. They blind your thinking, they take you ashore, and they eat you alive. And you end up having really bad ideas. Right, so what does it take to have good ideas? Let's just talk a minute about what does it mean to be a human being? What is human meaning? Do you know anybody who's skilled at something? Let's talk about a carpenter. What makes a carpenter a fantastic carpenter? Is it his brain? Is it his body? Is it his tools? Well, it's everything, isn't it? So when you see a very good carpenter, he can't explain what it is he does with his hands. He's completely embodied his hand. He's completely engaged in the world. He's not separated from the world. What about a great footballer? If you talk to a great footballer who does fantastic dribbling, you say, so how did you do that? And you'd say, I don't know, because it's part of the whole mood of the stadium. The team, the ball, the players, the smell of the grass is completely engaged in the world at that moment. What is a great teacher? A great teacher is somebody who's completely engaged with each individual pupil, who loves maths, who's engaged in the school, the smells, the moods on the school. That is what it means to be human being. And when technology and bad ideas take away that context, take away that humanity, it becomes really bad ideas. And then for a big company, it means it fails, because it produces and reproduces ideas that we don't need and have no meaning and take away our humanity. And I would really love you today, when you think about thinking beyond, just for a moment think about, when you think beyond, also think beyond the world outside your head, the real world, because it's so inspirational and you could be very curious if you actually study it. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, this is how we're going to solve the climate crisis. This is how we're going to make healthcare better. This is how we're going to make communities like Tottenham better. Not by letting bad ideas lead us, but letting good ideas lead us. And good ideas comes from the real world and not your head. Thank you so much.